What if in conversation we listened instead of just waited to talk? What if we caught ourselves in that moment of describing them and paused? If we could just catch that moment, that microsecond, when we turn a human being, a human animal, into a category and pause, we would already be doing attachment theory in action. What if we strengthened ourselves enough to tolerate discomfort in the presence of difference? What if anger was invented, but contained and directed intelligently? Containment is not suppression. It is capacity. It is strength, building strength around bigger and bigger emotions. Just like in working out, we build physical strength around lifting, say, heavier and heavier weights. And if we learned to lean into discomfort in a way that built that strength, and then allowed ourselves to be co-regulated in community, that's attachment in action. That's somatic resilience in real time. So, co-regulation, unlike just joining with, is something where we actually ping off of each other's nervous systems. And the rule is that the strongest nervous system in the room wins, not the healthiest, the strongest. So when most people are vibing at a very intense level, we're talking about co-regulation that's unhealthy, where we're actually making each other more activated. But if more and more people in any group worked actively to get themselves grounded and settled and contained, then our vibe, our energy is going to impact other nervous systems in the group. So if you have questions about this, please drop them in the comments below. I'd like to explore this further with you. So pendulation is another concept, moving in and out of discomfort in an intelligent way. Again, just like strength building. You do reps, right? You move into stress and then out of it, right? So pendulation is a really important part of building strength. Imagine a culture that stretches into challenge, right? Stress, and then returns to calm, to ease, to groundedness, activates, and then settles, pushes, and then reconnects. Instead of constant activation that builds and builds and builds, no repair, explosion, exhaustion, that's burnout culture. If we built emotional strength into community, we wouldn't need constant certainty. We would have capacity. After all, if you want to hear God laugh, tell her your plans. Years ago, this is how it showed up for me. My big aha. I was in a group where two members were having a real disagreement, not a hypothetical debate, but a real personal disagreement. And instead of smoothing it over, because you could feel the charge, you could feel the tension in the air as everyone else was getting more and more hypervigilant. What do we do? Do we join with one side? Do we tell them to shut up? Mm-mm. This was a group that already was mindful of some of these ideas. Instead of trying to smooth it over or letting it escalate, we slowed down. We took a breath, another breath. We let the first person speak fully. without shouting them down. And we also invited that person with clarifying questions to really get into the emotions that were running that person, right? What was creating this anxiety, this kind of stuck thinking that they were struggling with, um, this absolutism, this certainty. And because we connected with this person on an emotional level, this person was able to feel safe and to de-escalate. And then we did the same thing with the other person. And then we went back and forth, working to invite this emotion to show up, these emotions to show up, and then worked to soothe them and ground them. And in so doing, we felt empowered to help. And that soothed our nervous systems. And this is magically what happened. And I think we were all surprised by this. No one fled, no one exploded. The discomfort rose, then settled, then rose, then settled again. And afterwards, we came to an understanding, and the group became stronger, not weaker. That's pendulation. That's what working with the actual nervous system that is really dominating the room does. That's what happens when rupture does not equal exile. We would still disagree. There are 10 million opinions just in this country alone, some of them diametrically opposed to each other. And in fact, healthy disagreement isn't the problem. It's great. It's actually part of what leads to a better solution. In fact, groups made up of people from different backgrounds, different belief systems, consistently, and we've done studies and studies and studies on this, but they consistently produce higher quality solutions than ones made up of people who are all the same, the hive mind. We need solutions. But difference can also be dysregulating. We are tribal creatures. When someone from another culture challenges our norms, our nervous system can interpret that as a threat. So the problem isn't diversity. The problem is insufficient nervous system capacity to tolerate it. We are a big country in a big world, rich in cultures. Many of us value individuality, creativity, making an impact. We want to matter. Disagreement doesn't have to equal annihilation. It doesn't have to be met with attack. We could instead adapt faster, make better decisions, be harder to manipulate, be less reactive. We could move from tribal threat response to relational resilience. Yes, some people need individual care. They're much more deeply traumatized. But most of us need simply to live inside of a culture intentionally skewed toward healing, toward connection, toward co-regulation, toward embodied capacity. When our brains aren't hijacked by chronic loneliness and overwhelming stress, we might just think ourselves into a better world. Now the question becomes, how do we build that?